But it's actually, I want to give you today 11 principles to create great e-commerce brand experiences. And you may think, why not 10? I always ask myself, why not 11? Just question everything. So, but let me first introduce a bit about myself. He already said it, I'm Daan Klaver. I'm a proud partner of Priska and I have two lovely daughters. One is just a few weeks old. I built custom motorcycles as a co-founder of Numbnut Motorcycles with a bunch of friends. And I did sports all my life. First started out my career as a mixed martial artist. Got knocked out twice in the first 2 fights, so I thought it was better to do something else with my brain. So I went into advertising, the safe haven of advertising. Spent almost a decade as a designer and an art director and at international and national ad agencies. And later I founded Build in Amsterdam. And these are my lovely colleagues. Bounded by their pioneering spirit, they're all creators, designers, developers, copywriters, strategists. I co-founded the company with this pretty lad, Tim Weers. He's the managing director and somewhere sitting at the back. So what do? We do strategy, branding, and e-commerce, and especially the combination of it to bridge the gap between on and offline experiences. So we did this, we started 5 years ago, and always trying to set the benchmark with every project we do. It got led to some award-winning work. Last year we won e-commerce site of the year. This year we're still in the race, so hopefully we're gonna win something tomorrow, but let's see. So maybe you know us, maybe you don't, but I hope you know some of our work. This will just be a minute of showreel. Cheers. Thank you. So, and then a bit of work you don't know us from yet. This is not going to be a portfolio presentation. I'm going to show those principles. This is just the last introduction of a bit of our work. So what we're doing now, we're doing quite a few big projects. One is we're creating coherent design language for all touch points of Adidas. So that's actually a huge assignment for us. We're doing that together with the team of Adidas, with a big focus on the adidas.com. Now we just started a collaboration with Ace and Tate. They sell glasses, they have a lot of physical stores. They're actually pretty cool brand experiences already. But they even want to bridge that gap even further. And so they asked us sort of to invent the future for them on their omnichannel strategy. So that's a fancy word for bridging the gap between on and offline experiences. So Frans Hals, it's going to be live next month. It's really cool. It's a Dutch museum, and it's just that whole website is just going to be a lot of fun and cool stuff. So what I want to give you today, I already introduced it. Our 11 principles, how we create great brand experience. And so, great brand e-commerce experiences. And so don't confuse it with normal e-commerce, with multi-brand stores where it's only about conversion. Think about the bookings.com, Amazon.com. I'm not talking about those type of platforms. We are really creating e-commerce brand experiences. Keep that in mind. But these rules can apply almost to every creative process. So even if you're not interested in e-commerce, I think will still be interesting for you. Our first rule is don't pitch. We as Build in Amsterdam, we don't pitch. We may have lost some accounts because of it, that we could have won. We could have grown maybe faster, but it's just, we just think there's a lot of things wrong with pitching, especially in e-commerce. For starters, it's just immoral. There's just so many good reasons not to do it. If you think about it, if you would ask, you would want to paint your house, and you will ask a painter, could you paint half of my house and do it for free? He probably already would start laughing. Then you're going to tell him, but I'm going to ask 6 others, and they're going to paint the exact same half of the house. Then he's going to think you're totally nuts. And then you're going to tell him, and then I'm going to choose 3, and you can do another 25% of my house, but then I'm going to let my wife decide, and she's going to probably decide afterwards that she wants a different color, so you can repaint the whole house again. But this is what's happening in pitches, and that's why we decide not to pitch. And the cool thing about it is normal ad agencies spend around 30% of the time into pitches. That's an unpaid work. That means that your existing clients have to pay more. What we do is we spend that 30% of unpaid work, we invest it into our clients, and by doing that, we can spend a lot more time onto those actual projects. They will become much better work, they win awards, get recognition, and that will get you new clients without you having to pitch. So that is our principle number 1. Brings me to principle number 2. No layers. No layers in your organization. No layers of decision making on the client side. It's preferably, of course. Doesn't happen that much. And there's less layers between the client and you. We're a firm believer of this. Maybe it's because we're the flattest country in the world, but we just love a flat structure. And it really works for us. Because the great thing about it is, again, you minimize the amount of overhead, and you can spend more time on the actual work. And it also helps of managing feedback, because feedback is one of the most crucial elements in a process. That's where things tend to go wrong. So that's why we don't have account managers, we don't have salesperson, we don't have office managers. Maybe now we would need an office manager, might be a nice thing. But we don't have it. We only have Tim. That's the only one that's operational responsible. The rest are all what we call creators, people that are actually creating the work. So we put a lot of responsibility on their shoulders. And that brings me to number 3. By putting a lot of responsibility onto those creators, they're not able to blame anyone else. And this happens so much. Always when I review a portfolio or somebody's going to explain me why they've done certain things, they're going to say, I didn't have enough time. Or the creative director, he wanted it like this. Or the client, the brief was wrong. I always say, you are the one that is in charge. You should own up to the full responsibility. It's your project. Even if you're a junior, we actually don't have any titles. That's a thing I just forgot to mention with the no layers, because we believe in the team. Like, just think about soccer. There are no titles. It doesn't matter if you're right wing, left wing, if you spend 10 years already into the team, because you get your skills, and that's why you're being respected, not by your title. And that's what we believe in, and that's the same thing with being completely responsible. So if you think like, oh, I didn't have enough time, didn't get it, then go and ask for it. And then see what happens. If the client doesn't give it to you, just ask if you can call the client. And just put in a fight to create better work. Because you're, in the end, like what it says here, you're responsible. It's your work. It's your portfolio. The great thing about us as creators is that we are creating stuff actually for ourselves, because we're going to put it in our own portfolio. So make sure you create the uttermost best work, and don't blame anybody else for it. Just fight for it yourself. Brings me to principle number 4. Start with a why. At Build in Amsterdam, we have a strategist working on every project we do. Because a good concept is always based on good strategy. And if the client doesn't have the budget for the strategy, then just make sure you at least define the core values with your client. Because those are the core values you can always fall back to as a designer. Because you don't want to end up in discussions with your client about, why did you have that red color? Why did you use that font? Oh, because I like it? That's never a good reason. You should always be able to fall back onto the strategy. Explain everything what you do. But also ask yourself, every little line you put on the paper, or actually on the digital screen, of course, is why are you doing it? What is the reason? What is the rationale? Question every little thing you do. And always keep in mind, you're doing it for their consumer. Not for them, not for your creative director. You're making communication for their consumer. So keep that always in your mind. Principle number 5. Steal. Here people always get uncomfortable. Especially creators, because we all want to be completely original. And this is also a problem, because we're being taught a lot of times as creators to be completely original. So what happens a lot of times, we're going to start with a complete blank canvas. And then we're going to try and design, and we can't find exactly where we want to take it to, because we never had a vision of where it should go to. So what we do, and where I truly believe in, is steal from anywhere that resonates with your gut feeling, or anywhere that inspires you. And then that will form ideas, because ideas are formed by things you've seen consciously, unconsciously in the past. And that will form into ideas. So force this process by just stealing everywhere that inspires you. And that will lead to new ideas, and that will lead to innovation. Developers know it. Why do you think they have open source? They steal from each other. They show it even to each other. See what they've done with your code. How cool is this? You know, Elon Musk knows it. Why do you think he gave away all his patents? Steve Jobs was the best of it. He once said that Picasso said that good artists copy, great artists steal. Picasso never said it. He said something else. But Steve Jobs stole that quote and made it his own. And of course, we all know that all Apple products are a little bit too much inspired by Dieter Rams. But I'm glad they did it, because they brought it into new life. They improved on it. So I think that's where creation and innovation is all about. Improving onto other ideas and mixing it up. So it's not where you take things from, it's where you take things to. Principle number 6. You are a brand. This is for you as a creator. It applies to you, but it also applies to your company. Too many times ad agencies, they act like a golden retriever, everybody's friend. You know, don't be anybody's friend. Be more like a husky. Have your own style. Have your own values. Because you are a brand as well. People should know where you stand for. So what tends to happen a lot is that during a process, you think a client comes for a certain reason with you, and then he steers during the process, he steers it another way. A way where you're not comfortable with. You constantly have those clashes. And at a certain point, you're creating something that you're not, you don't want to create. It's not where you as a brand, as an agency, or as a person wants to stand for. What we do is build in Amsterdam when at a certain point we just say, sorry, this way we can't continue. So we don't follow the money. We're not the pleasers. We want to create great stuff. Because what will happen if we would do that, we would create work like they want it exactly. And then that work will lead to new work in the same category. And then suddenly we're stuck with making work we don't want to make. Now clients know why to approach us. It's very clear, the work we make. Sometimes people say, oh, your work looks alike a bit. I say it has a signature. And that's why also people that work for us know what they're asking from them. They know why they want to work for us. It's because of the type of work we make, where we stand for. So, create your own signature. Be a brand. Principle number 7. It's not about conversion. This sounds a bit weird maybe, if you're talking about e-commerce. But this is actually a big problem what I see with a lot of brand websites. In the beginning, e-commerce had a bit of a problem. People didn't know really what it was. So they gave it to the IT department at the brand side. Then they thought, oh, but we're selling stuff. So salespeople got involved as well. But there lies a bit of the problem, because suddenly all those people have targets. With targets, they have bonuses. And what that means is that if you change something on those sites, especially for the bigger companies, the older companies, actually a lot of those brands are pretty cool brands, but their e-commerce looks like shit, is what happens is, I want to change something, somebody's going to stand up and say, hey, what does it do to my target? So what does it do to my bonus to actually do my salary? So those companies are stuck in user testing. They constantly have to test every little thing they want to change. And they get those cluttered, busy websites that you don't enjoy. But think about this. If it's their physical store, do they optimize every little square meter? No. Walk into an Apple store. It's a beautiful experience, right? And they actually do a pretty good job on their website, but most of the other brands aren't doing that. They suddenly want to optimize every little pixel for conversion. But it should be a brand experience. It's your biggest marketing tool there is. It's open 24/7 hours, 24 hours, 7 days a week, and it's worldwide. So it's your biggest marketing tool. So create the best experience for your consumers. Oh, I'm running out of time. Principle number 8. Don't think in journeys. Again, maybe sounds a bit weird if you're talking, because everybody's talking about consumer journeys. But you never know how somebody lands on your website. You can try to force it a bit, but that's all you can do. So you have these beautiful attract, engage, convert models where everybody's talking about. And of course they're relevant, but don't see them as separate pages. See them as, it doesn't matter where you land on a website, it should be easy to buy something. It should be easy to convince somebody to buy something. It should be an experience, every page you touch. So don't think too much just in one journey, because you can't predict it. Principle number 9. Nobody knows, everybody knows. And you probably always get opinions from everybody when you're creating something and you're a bit bothered by it, because everybody has an opinion. But it's really, really important. If you're creating something and you're sitting behind your computer, just ask everybody around you. Ask your colleagues that are not in the project, because you're gonna get an honest opinion. If you ask them to be critical. Don't ask them just, oh, do you like it? No, ask them what they don't like about it, because then you get a brutally honest opinion. But also ask your friends, ask your family, but be open. If you ask for feedback, a lot of people, especially creators, are tending to go into the attack mode, because they're offended almost by what they're saying, because you've spent so much time on it. So it's not nice to hear if something is wrong. But it's so important just to ask people and ask for the opinion and listen to it. You're the expert, so you can decide whatever you want to use of it and what not. So it's not an attack on you, it's just the work you've done. And there's nothing personal about it. Principle number 2. My favorite one. Take a nap. Actually, NASA research showed that if you take a 26-minute nap during 1 and 3 p.m., you improve your productivity with 50% and your decision-making with 30%. Those are huge numbers. And I really like it. I like to take that nap during the afternoon. In the beginning, my colleagues thought it looked a bit weird, but especially in these days of information overload, you know, everybody's constantly absorbing all the information, it's so relieving to take just a little nap in the afternoon. And you will feel re-energized. And the great thing about it, if you're a passionate person, if you are creating with a lot of passion, you're into the project so deeply that you can't see it clearly. If you take that nap, you empty up your whole head, and when you walk back to your computer, you're suddenly gonna see it. It's gonna be clear. But one tip, if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna apply it, do set your alarm. Because this is what happened to me when I took a little nap, forgot to set my alarm. I woke up like an hour and a half later, and I looked around and like, yes, nobody noticed. So I walked back to my computer, tapped on my screen, and this was my screensaver. So you're probably noticing that dead guy in the middle is me. So, my last principle, principle number 11. You're finished, you're probably not. So many times people think they're almost finished. And then actually they're hopefully gonna spend another days, another weeks, a lot more hours onto the project. Because a project is made always in those last days, those last weeks, when everybody else would think you're finished. You're not finished. Go further, set the benchmark. Just always push it, push it, push it. Push your whole team to make better work, because it's in all of those details that make a project special, especially design, or that it's just a normal experience. So, this is the end. It's a quick summary. Hope you got them all. And thank you.